Good day everyone! Welcome to our program, 5 kagatos katuig nga pagtuo, 500 years of faith, in continuous celebration of the 500 years of Christianity that the Spaniards brought to our islands 500 years ago. At the start, i-plug ta ang libro ni Monsignor Lope Robredillo, kundiin igin susumat niya, he is announcing to the whole world ang kamatuoran nga ansyahan nga misa dito pag celebrar. It was celebrated in Homonhon Island in Giwan, Eastern Samar. So let's spread the truth so that everyone knows, Diri nga nakikiarig kita, diri nga nakikiagaw kita, kundiin, siyahan pag-celebrar, ig-celebrar ang misa, but we just want the truth to be told. That's all we're after, for the truth to be told. Ngan, ayaw talaman, let's not miss the significance, no? At buot signon hiton nga ang siyahan nga misa, dinhi pag-celebrar Homonhon Island, Giwan Eastern Samar, dinhi aton probinsya. Buod signon hiton nga may ada ta important role to play. May adako it aton role nga angay pagbuhaton darahini nga special grace nga ihinatag haton ang Ginoo nga dinhi han aton isla, han aton probinsya, siyahan, gen celebrar, and siyahan nga misa, no? So, what does that mean? It means that we are blessed by God, and so let us thank God, no, for that wonderful blessing by being good Catholics, and then by spreading the faith. Amo tema hini nga 500 years, diba? Gifted to give. Siyahan, tinagan kita hin grasya, tinagan kita hin maupay nga regalo hit Ginoo. Diri la para at atong kaligaringon, kundi para ipaangbit taliwat hindamo ng mga tawo, dinhit aton probinsya, dinhit aton nasod, nga hinhin bugos nga kalibutan, where there is a Filipino, no? Filipinos are everywhere, bisan hit mga war-torn countries, mga magkuring nga mga lugar, mga hagrayo nga mga lugar, haadto may ada Filipino. And it's not by coincidence, no? It has a meaning, it has a purpose. And the purpose, so God has ring ni Pope Francis. And when we started the celebration of the 500 years, di ba? Nagkamiadahin misa dito hap Roma that was personally officiated by Pope Francis to kick off the start of the 500 years celebration. Siring niya nga, amo iton itaton gift, ti kita nga mga Filipino, itaton pagtuo, which we spread with a lot of joy, with a lot of happiness. Kahit mga Pilipino, unog nga mga maglipayon nga mga tao. And happiness is contagious. And that happiness comes from our faith. Diba? Bisan kung makuri, it aton kamutangan, bisan kung pubris, kita pubris at aton nasod, diri nawawara it atong kalipayan. Darahit aton pagtuo, nga adat aton mga kasing-kasing, nga asya it naghahatag, hinungod nga kalipayan. Yan na it aton episode, hini 500 years, it atong programa, 5 kagatos katuig nga pagtuo, ipapasigita ang Amoris Laetitia ni Pope Francis, the joy of love in the family. We're still in chapter 2, the experiences and challenges of families. This is a continuation, no? We'll try to finish. Sabi ko konti na lang to, pero damo pangayan nga mga challenges and experiences nga agian hit mga pamilya, not only in the Philippines, no, but all over the world, nga giaadi surat ni Pope Francis with the help no of the Synod Fathers. Kay dinhi itaan hit iya synod, post-synod apostolic exhortation of the Holy Father Pope Francis on love in the family. Tikang in produkto inihan duduha nga synods on the family that were held in Rome, and the findings and the observations and conclusions no of the Synod Fathers amo it nakasurat dinhi hit Amoris Laetitia ni Pope Francis, the joy of love in the family. Pero ito nga joy nga kalipayan direct pamilya direct both sigon nga oray mga problema. In fact, damo it mga problema, mga ayat nga ginaagian hit pamilya nga hin mag-aragsawa. And we have started mentioning them, and today we will continue with the different challenges and experiences that families go through. It era kinabuhi, it era kada adlaw nga pag-ukoy as a married couple, as a family. Okay, so to continue ang mga observations and mga ni Pope Francis and the Synod Fathers on the different challenges and experiences of families, ada kuno the weakening of faith and religious practices, nga na karon naluya pagtuo pamilya nga hit pag-obserba hit mga religious practices, very hindi maikakaila na damo na pamilya nga dire na simba, labi na yan nga adikatit pandemya nga sige pag nagsasara simbahan, more than a year na nga panhitabo dire na sugadhan una nga the church full capacity, overflowing pa nga pag Sunday Mass, labi na kung mga special seasons in the church. For example, during Lenten season, gihalabait misa, darahin ka na mo hitawo nga manirimba, nagsusubra, damo na nga nitada kagawas, nga na-attenderit misa. I mean, outside of the church, physical church, dara kay direct hadang direct sulod simbahan yan na ada ng mga limited capacity para kay bawal nga magsuro-so kita, mga mass gatherings dire pa pwede hini nga pandemic kay we are trying to prevent the spread of COVID-19, which is a reality. Dire lahin pinili nga mga lugar but all over, including our own towns, our own province, may mga kaso in COVID, and we want to prevent dara kay nakakamatay ini nga virus, we want to prevent people from dying from this virus. So pero bisan pa han before before the pandemic, before COVID, naada na naobserbahan na and ang pagluya, ang pagtuohan mga tao nga hen era dire na pagsimba, and this is seen especially in first world countries, Europe, America, and labi na mga countries that are not predominantly Catholics, so like in Europe, if you have been there, damit mga mag-upay nga simbahan, dagko nga simbahan, nga una nga mga panahon, pero mipuno in mga manirimba, pero yan na gutiay na. I even remember some years ago when I was studying in Italy, kasi I go to Mass every day, and then diri man kada adlaw naninimba, Sunday Mass duro damo, and ngayon it's nice to see families going to Mass together, o itira mga kabataan, and you'll see this in Europe and in the US, America, nakakatuwa. Pero daily Mass, very few. And then I remember one time I went to church on a weekday, And then pipiraoy lang kami. I think I don't know if I was the only person there aside from the priest and the reader. And di ko makakalimutan nga didahan prayer of the faithful. No, what was that? Basta nga masagbang kita, di ba? Mabaton kita. And then anpadi, I think it was the gospel acclamation. Usually, hit gospel acclamation, may ada phrase, no, from the Bible nga aton ginihilwas, and then we say Hallelujah before and after. I remember distinctly, hinihan akong pagsimba, and darakay, it was in Italian, and I don't speak Italian, and ginamit lang nga gospel acclamation, nagbabasa was Hallelujah, because maaram nga di ako makakabaton if it was di ako makakasabat if it was in Italian, because there was no one else. I was the only one there aside from him and the priest. So tutulo lang kami simbahan. Pero in other countries, on a Sunday, damo gihapit na niningba, but although not as much as before. So nakakatuwa rin naman kay ako na kasi rin nga wala na good na singba, or talagang guti ay nala. Pero yan na kita pandemya, di taman-daman mabasol, no? Itatong singbahan kay ano nga nagsasara, dara kay nagiging super spreader. We don't want to be a super spreader, hini nga COVID-19. We want to protect the people and also our priests. Dara kay damo gihapon nga mga kapadian, iba kalagsan na nga nagkaka-COVID. So we want to protect everyone. We want to keep everyone safe. Pero may ada ta mga online masses, no? May ada ta online masses, which is very good during this pandemic because we can hear mass any time of the day. Kung waray ka pa mata, hintemprano, hanaga, pwede ka sumingba, hitudto. Kung medyo na busy ka during the day, waray nim oras, pag singbahan udto, pwede ka sumingbahan gabi, no? I know in other parts of the world, they also have online masses, so you can actually attend masses in Rome, in different parts of the world, no, in the US and in other parts of Europe. So that's pretty exciting. Pero we know, no, nga waray sapayan, hit ada ka mismo, hit sulod simbahan in front of the tabernacle, in front of the altar, and we receive our Lord in Holy Communion, direla sacramentally, like what's happening now. So the challenge after this pandemic is how to bring people back to church. So let's pray, no, that everyone will be excited to go back to church and observe the religious practices, not only during this pandemic, but after and all throughout our lives. Danger hining pagluya hit atong pagtuo ngan hit direkta na pag-obserbar hit mga religious practices, pagsimba, pangadi, pagrosaryo, no, and many others. Nagiging at mga tao, they feel lonely and isolated. This is a big challenge, no, to a lot of people, whether Catholics or not, in a feeling of isolation and feeling of loneliness, especially during this pandemic. We're not able to go out and do the things that we normally do, saan magka-COVID, and meet the people who we usually meet. Bisan strangers, no? Bisan pag sakay, public transportation, paggawas, and nga dihit mga parks or mga malls, mga restaurants, no? Where we meet people, yan na, we are here locked down in our homes. Na binahin, yan na, starting today, I'm recording on August 5. I'm sorry, 6th, this is a Friday, started lockdown, no? Dini NCR, National Capital Region, and may naliwat iba nga mga probinsya that were included in the enhanced community quarantine, no? This is the strictest quarantine, nga bawal lumabas, dadaman for 2 weeks, darahin nga Delta variant. So the more isolated and the lonelier people feel, because we are not able to do the things that we used to do, not able to meet the people who we used to meet, but most of all, and people feel nga nag-uusaan lahira. Darahit pagluya, no, itira pagtuo, dira na nira pag-practice, and mga our religious practices. People feel that they are all alone, and parudamanhin harayo it Ginoo haira, no? They amid the difficulties, one symptom of the great poverty of contemporary culture is loneliness, rin ni Pope Francis, arising from the absence of God in a person's life and the fragility of relationships, no? Dara kay diri na kita na simba, dira kay naluyan atong pagtuo, atong pag-abat, nga gimpabayan na kita, nga nag-uusaan na kita. So that's the danger, no? Hini nga usa nga mga experiences nga ginaagian usa nga pamilya o nga mag-asawa. It's mahirap, no? Makuri to feel alone, to feel lonely. It's because the man is a social being. It's in our nature to be with others, and to commune with God. Salit, what do? We have to strengthen, no? We have to strengthen our faith. Pakusgat ta itong pagtuo. Ayaw kita kawaraihin paglaom. Anyan, pasigila, no? Kay Ginoo dire nagpapabaya. He is there with us in our difficulties, with mga oras nga kasringta, nag-uusaan kita, bawo, dadara kita niya, gimbubuhat kita niya. Remember that poem, that very beautiful poem, Footprints on the Sand. Tatandaan niyo yun. Pag pagkalipayan, pag malipayon, everything is going well, you feel successful, you're happy, no? You see 2 sets of footprints on the sand. Saring author and poet, no? 2 sets, duduha nga footprints, kikitaon yung direct sand. Pero nasa hiya, pero kay ano Ginoohan oras nga mga kakurian, han oras nga nag-uusaan ako, han oras nga nabibido ako, kaya ano usala nga footprint na akong kinikita. In his mind, in the mind of the person, nag-uusaan niya, gimpabayan niya hang Ginoo, binayaan niya hang Ginoo. Pero ano ang siring hang Ginoo haiya? During those times when you felt all alone, during those times nga masurubon ka, nga ginaagi ka hang kakurian, uusala ang footprint nga nakita, dara kay kukugos ta ikaw, because I was carrying you. Salit ang footprint nga nakikita, o sala nga set of footprints, ang akong footprints. Dara kay bubuhat ta ikaw. I was carrying you para diri ka kurian, bisan kung iginaagi ka mga kabido, ginaabat kay mga kabido, naagi kay mga kakurian. So let's always remember that, no? Let's always remember that when we feel all alone, when we feel lonely, let's go to God. Let's go to God. And actually, it's not, parang hindi right to say to go to God, because God is with us. He is Emmanuel. He is with us. So, siguro namnamin natin, no? Let's savor His presence in our lives, and let us acknowledge nga Kristo pirmi aadi haaton. Let's be aware, let's be conscious of that fact, because it's sad nga damo haaton kasiring ta nag-uusaan la kita salit na bibido kita, when in truth and in fact, upod ta pirmi hi Kristo. Salit kinahanglan pirmi kita malipayon, darakay, upod ta pirmi hi Kristo. Sige, nga pag istorya ni Pope Francis, so during these moments that you feel alone, you feel abandoned, it challenge it pamilya, no, na naada it kahadlok him to raise the family and to have children and to take care of the elderly members of the family. Dara kay kasaring nim nag-uusaan ka na. No, but we have seen that that's not true because God is always with us. So ayaw kita kahadlok, pero ni kita tapod lahit Ginoo because God is faithful to His promises and He will never leave us alone. So let's always be hopeful, let's always rejoice, and let's always be grateful. No? Pero ni kita pagpasalamat. Hit presensya hit Ginoo, hit aton kinabuhi, din hit aton pamilya. Nga sa rin ko, danay na masyado damay problema or dara kay dire good kita nangangadi, nagaampo, di tanan na inaabat it iya presensya. But the truth is, it's always there. He's always with us. And if we, if we are more prayerful, talagang mararamdaman natin yung presensya ng Panginoon sa buhay natin. So let's always keep on praying and let's always keep on calling on God because He is always there for us. So ayaw kita kahadlok, bisan yan nga pandemya, ada na daman, paano na, may tatabuha doon, damo, nagkawaraan na daramahin trabaho, kasi no work, no pay because the companies cannot operate during this pandemic. Dara kinahanglan magsara. Paano na? No? So ayaw kita kawaraanin paglaong permila kita tapod, no? Hit Ginoo. Let us also do our part. Let us also do our part. So it's simbahan, nga hit gobyerno, ngayon mga organizations, private, non-government organizations, private individuals, pagburublig kita, labi na yan na nga mga panahon nga kinahanglan, no? Pagburublig, it calls for unity and not disunity. So, usa pa nga challenge, families, housing, no? Siring ni Pope Francis na identify ini ang mga synod fathers nga damo nga mga pamilya inwaray kalugaringon nga balay o dire dissenting nga panimalay. Salit ada irit mga squatters areas, makuri, no? Dit mga syudad nagrereklamo kita nga nagbababaha dara kay mga pinanmalayan na mga squatters and mga rivers, no? Pero hain man hira uukoy salit ada it obligasyon hit gobyerno nga i-relocate hira and many local government units, no, are doing that, have been doing that, relocating mga tawo nga who are the informal settlers, no, who are informal settlers nga delikado liwat it ira inuokyan labi nangin na bagyo because nagbababaha, they're not safe. Pwede naman mahibang itira balay dahil bagyo, dahil pagbabaha, and they can die from that. So makuri ito aray balay nga usa nga pamilya siring ni Pope Francis nga every family, a family has the right to decent housing fitting to family life and the needs of the family members, no? So importante fitting to family life and the needs of the family members. Han aton post-Yolanda rehabilitation, di ba? Damo ang mga nag-donating kabablayan, pero anong problema? Dinhi di waray nangungukoy, bisan dinit aton na Eastern Samar may mga housing, makita kita nga pinanhimo pero waray naukoy kay ano, harayo ngahin waray harayo hit from the town. They are far from the town. Harayo hit bungto. So what hain hira kukuha, hain hira pamamalit it era mga karaunon. It era pangalayon, panarabaho. That means that mabiyahe pa hira. Do they have the money, no, for their daily transportation? Salit ngin maghihimukitahin mga housing. No, let's learn. Hibaro nagad kita kay damo na mait nga mga housing nga ginhimo nga waray nangungukoy. Nagastula kita. There's budget. Actually, there's a big budget for that. Damo ang mga donations na pero nagasto kita pero la kita naghahapiling kwarta, hindi magagamit nga mga balay, hindi mauukyan nga mga balay. Salit, let's keep the family in mind. Dapat dignified it era kabutangan di dahil nga balay nga era ukyan. So let's yung distance is important. Ngayon kung wala man iba nga lugar kundi in paghihimuan hin balay, that's what the LGUs will tell us, no? Kay din himanla kami pwede mga paghimo hindamo nga mga balay. Di tagadaman hin mga pangalayunan or pakabuhian nira. Yes, I mean, let's create a community nga let's try to make it complete. Dira ito nga community, salit diri na nira kinahanglan magbiyahe, gumasto, wala man nira iparasahe, para makakaduit irang mga alayunan, para makapamalit hirat irang mga kinahanglanon dito habunto. So, planning lang yan eh. Planning lang. Ayusin natin. Because irespeto ta, dignidad, usa nga tawo, usa nga pamilya. And we will do that by keeping these things in mind. Ira mga panginahanglan as individuals and as families. So, let's put to use the resources that are given to us in order to help the families. We have the capacity, we have the means. Adala hitama nga paggamit. Gamitan tahin tama, gamitan tahin maupay. Pagbulig hit aton mga pamilya, pagbulig hit mag-aragsawan. So, isa pa nga experience and challenges to the families are lack of healthcare. Kamakuri, hit pobre nga nagkakasakit. Kamaluluoy, makaluluoy, yung nagkakasakit, pobre, waray ibarayad, hit hospital, waray papatambal, no? Damo, namamatay na when they could have lived longer, kung nakapagpatambal hira, pero dara kay waray nira ipag magagamit pagpatambal, amo nga na dugang itira sakit hanggang nga kamatay nila. No, sayang the life that we could have saved. So healthcare very important. Meron ta PhilHealth, ano pa ba, senior citizen discount. So thank you for them. Ako itdaman nga pakabulig na aton. Kung do may mga problema daman hiton nga mga healthcare providers naton. So upayon ta daman, no? Upayon ta daman, ayaw ta na ibulig at corruption, di dahil ito ng mga healthcare facilities that we provide the poor. Mara na nga ni, iibanan tapan. Buti ay na nga ni, iibanan tapan. Ayaw na. Gamitan tahin maupay. Pagbulig at mga pobre. Kay para ithaira. I'm so amazed and I'm so impressed when I went to Australia, to Sydney. Gindaraat nga dahin public hospital, hanakon kasangkayan, who are Filipinos, pero ano nahira Australian citizens nahira, kay nag-migrate nahira nga sa Australia. And kamaupay itira na healthcare it era public hospital. Higita when we think of a public hospital, it added aton huna in magraot imang hospital. Magraot physically, mahugaw, it facilities, it building, dire maupay. Suruso, it mga pasyente, parang nganin magkakasakit ka pa dara kay dire hiya dire ba maupay. I don't know how to describe it. Mahugaw, dire ginlilinisan kundi dara kay pintura, nag-aak-ak na, it tiles, ruba. This actually happened in our hospital in Llorente. And ceiling and alcoba, nagtatak-tak guho. Pag nauran, delikado, kay darahan turo, pwede kay patalindas. Parang kayo magkakasakit. Saringani yan, usa nga nag-comment, it hospital, kinahanglan naman pagtambalon, kay utro naman nga masakit. Pero dito ha Australia, nga Sydney specifically, anira public hospital, parang in private hospital. And when we talk of private hospital, ako what I have in mind is medical city, nga parang in hotel, ito hospital. And then yan na, nag-upgrade na naman iba nga mga hospital. Kasi amo na ito, Asian hospital, medyo mahal. Pero ano ka, kampante ka nga maupay service dinhi. So haaton dinhi probinsya, iton kulang yung facilities, kulang yung equipments, salit di pagod kita makatapod, no? Nga mag-uupay aton pasyente. Ikakatutapahin iba nga hospital, private hospital in Giwan, or mga hospital sa Tacloban, ipagdarangani nga Manila, aton mga pasyente makuri. Yan ang pandemic, no? Dara kay limited mga eroplano, mga sarakyan. So, amo ito kabutangan, hit mga tao, hit mga pamilya, nga there's lack of adequate healthcare, no? Lack of adequate healthcare. Siyempre, health is wealth, di ba? Karikuhan ta aton health. Salid kinahanglan atamanon, because siringan nira bisan kung damo itong kwarta, milyon, billions pangani, pero kung masakit ka, di mai-enjoy itong karikuhan. So bisan kung pobre ka la, pero healthy ka, mamariko ka pa ngani ito nga milyonaryo o bilyonaryo nga masakit nga diri niya nai-enjoy tiya kinabuhi dara tiya sakit. Pero damo, no, it mga pobres nga nanginginahanglan hit aton bulig hit pagka in the field, no, in the area of health. And also there is lack of dignified employment, no? Kulang yung trabahoan, labi na dadaman yan nga pandemya, kulang yung trabahoan, damo ito wala trabaho. And it has a big effect, no, on the family. Makuri ngin ora panginabuhi it mga kag-anak or members of the family, ano tira ipapakaon, itira pamilya, ngin wala nira sweldo, wala nira trabaho, wala sweldo. So dako nga ayat mga pamilya, labi na yan nga pandemya, so unan unta pakabulig ha ira. So lahat nga mabulig nga maihahatag ta, bulig kita hira. Paghatag sugad yun nga pandemic, no, nga damo ito ra trabaho, so ipaghatag hin pagkaon, bisan kung dire kada adlaw, at least may adlaw nga may nira makakaon, di ba? Uso na liwat yan na community pantry, so padayon ta, ipasigit ta, buhata ta din aton mga tagsa-tagsang community. Let's share our blessings with those who do not have much, talagang walang-wala. So, buligit ta, ipaangbit ta haira, kung amit may adata, di man kinahanglan nga gidadako, gidadamoi, itaton ibubulig. Basta kung ano itaada, nganti ka kasing-kasing, ibulig ta haira. And that's how we are going to help families survive this pandemic. Akon mga inihatag nga examples are pandemic, no, during this pandemic. But when Pope Francis wrote Amoris Laetitia, he wrote this 5 years ago. What I had to pandemic, but to make his apostolic exhortation relevant, so I give the example of during the time of the pandemic. Pero ito nga kakorean ni trabaho. Ungod man iton, di ba? Dinhin aton probinsya. Kaya ano damot aton mga OFWs. Dira na akong bungto kayo rente. Mga professionals, mga maestra na, mga nagpakahuman ng pang-eskwela. They left for abroad, nag-domestic helper. So ha Italy, damo hira dita Italy, ha Hong Kong. Darahit, kakulangan ni trabaho, dinhihit at diniha natong probinsya, hit ato nason because of lack of jobs. So, this leads to another problem, which is migration. Pero bisan kung may ada liwat mga trabaho, may ada trabaho nga na ipoprovide, may trabaho hit isa nga member hit pamilya, ada na may problema hit habobo nga pansweldo. Not enough to feed his family, not enough para makapang-school at iya kabataan. Or, yes. So what I'm saying, yeah, it's a challenge, no? It's a challenge. Dini ha probinsya, may kun mga nakakayakan ng mga kabataan nga mag-graduate from high school, napakianak kami. Ano itin ko kuhaon hit college, no? Na bibido ako ginabati akaira nga waray nira plano pag college. Dara kay sirinira di man kaya era kag-anak nga pa-eskwelahon ni right college. That really makes me sad. Makabibido kasi normal, no, kinabuhi usa nga bata, isang estudyante, nagpaplano ka hitim na masunod nga eskwelahan. You look forward to the next stage, no, in your education. And if when you graduate, usait nga mga excitement, dire lang nga nahuman ka na, malipayon ka, nahuman ka na, kundi malipayon ka kay masunod ka na hit college, no? If you graduated from high school, you are excited. Or if you graduated from the elementary, excited ka kay masunod ka na at high school. Maupay nga, libre na itaton elementary and high school, no? May adat na nagsugad nga hatag atong gobyerno, free education in elementary and high school, no? So if college, may gihapon mga may baraydan, no? May tuition nga baraydan, although there are scholarships that you can avail of. Sanit ini-encourage ko atong kabataan nga upayon itera pag-aram, pag-eskwela, and then to apply for scholarships, to compete for scholarships para tuloy-tuloy yung pag-aaral nila, dire mahiudong, nahin mahumanira itera pag-eskwela, and makamit nila yung kanilang mga pangarap sa buhay, which is very possible, no? Nothing is impossible in this world. So yun. And usa naman nga naging problema hit pangalayunan, bisan kung may pag-alayon, no? Danay daman you have to work long hours, no? Nga nawawaraan na nimhin oras para in pamilya. And if you are in the city, for example Manila, nga ora-ora traffic, nauubos itim oras sa traffic. Nabaya ka habalay, temprano pa para makadatong kahit sa opisina on time, pero pagbaya nim nangaturog pa itin kabataan, no? And then you come home late, daradamanhan maiha nga traffic, 2 hours, 3 hours, danay-ngani na abutin 4-5 hours nga nagbababaha ora-ora traffic. So wala na nim, di na nim hiaabutan itim kabataan kay nangangaturog na. So what happens pag sugadit di rin nagkikirigta, if members of the family di rin na nag-restorya, it can cause to the weakening of the family. It can lead to the weakening of the family. Darakay it kusugit pamilya, adahit pag-restorya, adahit pagkirigta, adahit time spent together with each other. So in these instances, we really just have to be creative, no? Gamitan tayo internet and technology to keep in touch with each other. So we can use the cell phone, and then we have our messenger, we have our group chats, no? Let's take advantage, let's utilize these platforms, gamitan tayo ini nga mga platforms to keep in touch with members of the family. Bisan kung may mga suganit nga mga sitwasyon nga we don't have time, we lack time for each other, no? But we make time and then we use technology para pamilya magkirigta lagi ha, bisan ko na ada lait online, added internet, added group chat, added messenger group, no? FaceTime, Viber, but at least, no? Nagkikirigta, even if only virtually. And then, let's look forward to the time nga magkirigta kita in person. And that will also be discussed in the Amoris Laetitia of Pope Francis, making time for each member of the family. So, sa pang-challenge and experience and challenges to the families, na-mention ko na kanina yung mga damo haat, darahit kakulangan hit trabaho, nakadto hit ibang mga nasod, panuroy yung trabaho, nababayaan it pamilya. May swerte kung it in pamilya upod niyo, thanks be to God, may mga sugarit nga programa nga upod it pamilya. I know some employments or employment programs, for example, sa US, sa UK, nga mga nurses, no? Because they need nurses there. Damot ato mga nurses ng Filipinos who apply for work abroad. Upod dito era program, no? Or employment package, no? Ngahit pagkat ha America or ha UK or diin man, no? Abroad, upod hito nga i-hire nga nurse itiyang pamilya. That's a very good program. Pero diri nga tanang sugad hiton. Labi na kon mga domestic helpers, di pa ni mahiupod itong pamilya, ikaw pala babayaan ni itong pamilya. I remember this movie, Vilma Santos ba yun? I didn't watch it really, nakikita ko lang yung mga excerpts, no? Anak ba yun? Yung anak, yung siya, domestic helper niya sa Hong Kong. Tapos binayaan niya mga anak, no? Para matagan niya, himaupay nga kabubuwason, para mapapangiskwela niya. But the children have a different take on that. Anira paggulaw, binayaan hira, anira nanay, Vilma Santos, salit nagrebelde. I think yung panganay, si Claudine Barreto ba yung nag-portray noon? Nagrebelde. And sabi niya, di ko kinahanglan ito yung kwarta, kinahanglan ko ito yung presensya. So that's the dilemma. That's a big, big dilemma of our overseas Filipino workers. No? Nga, yun. I want to give my children a good future, pero di ko man mahihatag kung naan nila ka Pilipinas. Darang kay waray ko man pangabuhi din hiya Pilipinas, or kung may ada man habubo sweldo. Takay kung damo nga mga anak, or bisan kuno usala, kung dire kaya yung sweldo, manunuroy ka, di ba? In employment opportunity where you can provide for your children, tira panaon, tira clothing, shelter, tira education. So So yun, talagang ano yung scene na yun, no? Yung nagre-rebelde si Claudine Barreto, yung anak, I forgot her name in that movie. But it's the same story, no? Hit kabataan, hit aton mga OFWs. They miss their parents. Iba gihapon ko na aday aton kag anak when we are growing up na maupay kung may nabibilnan, no? Nga natatapuran, nga naugop, nagdidisiplina, nagtitimang ng kabataan, the way the parents would have taken care of the children. But it's not always the case. Salit, damo ng mga anak ito at W's, diri nagtutuhay pag-eskwela, diri natutuhay pag-eskwela, because they are conflicted, no? And they feel nga inabandonar hira, pinabayaan hira, binayaan hira, and ira kag anak. They feel unloved. They feel unloved. And then, the other negative effect, liwat, mga OFWs, and I have talked with several of them, no, when I studied in Italy, in Rome, nga, hira, dara kay waray man kami dito it amon absence gimpupuno ni rahit mga material nga butang salit kun ano it aruon it anak bisan kun pira it aruon it anak maniniguro it kag anak magdo double job, triple job para mahipadara it ginaaro it ira anak. But the negative effect is that it bata diri na naniniguro pag eskwela ngan kundiri na babantayan, kundiri na didisiplina, nagagamit it kwartahin, diri maupay ng mga gaga nga garastuhan, no? Mga may ada kanto usa matawag kani karagoy kaniya ka nanay ni tate nga nakata Rome karagoy motor, aron hit motor na eskwela pamalatiya, pwede may tiya mag-tricycle, pwede maglakat, pero motor, nag-aaroy motor. Nadirigad nga ni ang kag-anak, ananin nga yung tatay, pero nagigilty daman hira, kung nira ihatag, ginaaroy tira anak, bangin dumuganghin, pumahirayo tira anak. But, yun nga, naaabusar. So, bata diri na naniniguro nagiging very very dependent, no, on the parents. Di naghuman pag eskwela, so it problema pa nagbibisyo. So usa damait nga dako nga problema sa pamilya hinga nga dahin mga bisyo na itira kabataan, nagde-drugs, they drop out of school, may mga teenage pregnancies, ang gambling, nahinga nga dadaman, yung paghuigo, iba-iba na nga bisyo. So, kairo bata, kairo anak, kairo pamilya. So, how do we help them? Of course, the best way to help, no, is to provide jobs. Enough jobs, and jobs nga makakabulig pamilya nga ma-provide nira panginahanglanon itira mga anak, itira pamilya. So create jobs, no? Our government and the private sector pagburuglig na magkamay-adahin mga trabahoan dinhi aton nasod, dinhi aton community, dinhi aton probinsya para diri na kumadto ha abroad ang mga kag-anak o isa nga kag-anak na diri na magburuglag it pamilya. Of course, I didn't mention infidelity, nagiging cause na ito ni pag buruglag it mag-asawa. As in, diri la physical, pero physical separation, pero pati ira pag-asawa nahihibang dara kay nagbubulag, may mga tentasyon, pwede kung ka-abroad matempt itaan hida mga Pilipinas matemptar pagbuhatin diri mga angay buhaton, pag-entrahin mga relasyon nga diri angay entrahan. So these are the challenges and experiences of families, and that we have to find ways, and we need to find ways para mabulig ang tahira. And ayaw tahingalinti pag-ampo, no? Para hini ng mga pamilya nga iginaagit mga sugadhin ng mga challenges, ng mga experiences. So sa pa nga challenge and experience that families have nga nakabutang dinhi han Amoris Laetitia ni Pope Francis na the joy of loving the family is about the elderly, no? Na-mention ta na in earlier, no? The way we take care of our lolo and lola, of the elder members of the family, is very important. Otherwise, nagkakaproblema, it lagas, it kalagsan dito atong pamilya. They feel alone, they feel lonely, and alone they feel unwanted, they feel useless, and so they want to die already. In some countries, labi na hiton nga harayo na it mga anak, it era mga elder parents, may na mga euthanasia, ngayon assisted suicide. It's a problem in some countries kay nag-legalize na nga ni and dito iba nga mga nasod nga mga lugar euthanasia and assisted suicide, which is very wrong, no? Which is very wrong because we cannot take a life that doesn't belong to us. Ipinahuram laha aton at atong kinabuhi pero diri it aton salit we have no right, no, to take away our own life. But this is what happens to elderly nga they don't feel any reason, they don't see any more reason to live. Dara kay nag-uusaan na hira, wala na nila gamit, they feel all alone, they are so lonely, di na binibisita hit era mga anak, so sabi nila, ano pa gamit ita akong kinabuhi. So let's look after them, let's take care of them, let's make time for them. Bisita hata kung maupay din hit aton ha Pilipinas hit aton nasod nga ada ginditiman na tayo aton mga kategorangan. That's really a very very good practice kung ta diri kita magliwat, siring ta pa di ba it mga lolo ngahin lola, they have a special bond with their grandchildren, so maupay it nga aton mga anak will know their grandparents and will spend time with their grandparents and then form a bond with their grandparents para our grandparents will feel needed and wanted and useful, and that gives them a reason to continue living and to continue and it makes them happy and fulfilled, no? Nga ani pa hira nakakabulig pa nga kinahanglan hira. Ako, napaka-importante yung feeling na yan na I'm needed, I'm wanted. So, let's make our grandparents feel that. Let's be grateful to God nga dinhi ha Pilipinas, hit aton nasod, aada pa it aton pagpanimang no hit aton mga kategorangan. At kung ta direct iton pag-uhon, ipasigit ta, ipadayon ta. Pero isa naman nga problema, no, the way we take care of our elders or challenge, no, hit mga kalagsan kategorangan hit aton pamilya, is the elderly abuse. This is very, I mean, I don't know if we have heard, no, diniha aton in elderly abuse na katabat ikatin mga child abuse, nabat ikitahin child abuse, but not elderly abuse. But when I attended a conference, no, in New York before COVID, na-mention ini nga elderly abuse. It can be physical, emotional, and financial, no? Or all of them combined. Ini nga klasihin abuse nga ginaagian hit mga kalagsan, no? Financial, iba na nakaputit ira kwarta, tapos ira kwarta diri ginagamit para ira panginahanglan, pero ginagamit panginahanglan it iba. Okay gadla nga makabulig hira, pero ayaw tagadaman kuhaan kwarta nga gagamito na itatong kalagsan para ira medisina, para ira pagkaon, and other needs, no, that they have. Yan kung gagamiton ta kwarta hit aton elderly, sarit kita. Ngan ayaw ta paglabti kundi dire ini hahatag haaton, kundi rin nato yan. Ayaw ta paglamti, irespeto ta. Otherwise, that's elderly abuse. Dati hindi ko yan naintindihan. Pero oo nga, no, we're abusing, inaabusar tayo ato ni kalagsan. Kasi rin ta nga, alagas na mait, wala nahit panginahanglan. Di na mait nagawas, aran umpait niya at iyang kwarta. Well, the thing is, that's his or her money. And as I said, kung di kita nanginginahanglan, pag-aro kita. Ayaw ta kuha nga dihiya maaram. Ayaw ta gamita nga dihiya maaram. Because for all you know, ihahatag it niya at bangin damo panganit iti hatag niya. Kung masarid la kita, kung ipapakita tahiya nga, inirerespeto tahiya nga kung ano may ada niya, iti possessions, iti kwarta, inirerespeto ta. Ngayon, physical, emotional abuse, no, and verbal abuse. I think yung verbal abuse of our elderly, it's sad na danay may ata itong sugad, physical abuse, direkta hirap na I don't know, napapariguan, nalilinis, labi na kung magluya na hira, kay ikalagsan, hadlok na pumarigos, dara kay madali hira hagkutan. Dirit nga as mong hira, it's just na, in-explain niya ng isang doctor na kaibigan ko. Nanipis na itaton panit as we grow older. Salit kalagsan, madali hagkutan. Diba? Karon nga may na sweater hira, bisan mapaso. Ngahin, di na gudira na parigos, dara kay na hinahangkutan. So, pag sugalit, pagpasok kita, ng tubig, direta kore, para, pumarigos hira, it's lukewarm, and dira hirahangkutan. So, let's take care no, of our of the elderly, of the old people, old members of our family. Kay kung wala hira, wala kita din he. So, let's always remember that. Nang damo daman if era bulig haaton, nahihatag haaton. So it's only fitting no nga magpasalamat kita era by taking good care of them, by loving them, and by serving them in their old age. Yes. Na-mention naman ni Pope Francis nga usahit mga challenges in families and married couples in same-sex marriage. No, he makes it clear niya that same-sex marriage is not marriage. It is not marriage. It is a union of a man and a woman. It's a union of a man and a man, a union of a woman and a woman, but it's not marriage. Because marriage is the union, permanent union, of a man and a woman. From the very start, we remember an aton siyahan nga mag-asawa, hiadan nga ni Eva. And ginhimo han Ginoo nga mga tawo babae nga lalaki. Nothing in between, nothing more, nothing less. Babae, lalaki. Salit, pag-asawa is between a man and a woman. And Pope Francis said that no union that is temporary or close to the transmission of life can ensure the future of society. So, that's his straightforward answer. Why same-sex marriage is not marriage, no? Because it does not ensure the future of society, because it is temporary, it is not open to life. It is not open to life. Same-sex marriage, it's a challenge, no? Yan na mga pag-aragsawa, because how is it a challenge, no? Well, as I said, Pope Francis was very straightforward because it does not ensure the future of society. So, mapapaisip tayo, no? I mean, it should make us think, no? Nga marriage, pag-agsawa, diri lahiya para haak, o para haak ng tak-asawa, o para haak ng haam nga mag-asawang hit amon pamilya, kundi para hit aton society, para hit kabubuwasan, hit kalibutan. No, that's the social value of marriage. That's the social value of marriage, which is what makes marriage marriage, which is what makes marriage marriage. So let's not forget that, no? Nang nag-aasawa kita, nagpapamilya kita, dili lang para haaton, kundi para it hit kaupayan. It's for the good, it's for the common good. Kaupayan hit nga tanan, kaupayan hit aton sosyedad, kaupayan hit aton nasod, kaupayan hit bugos sa kalibutan. No? Because marriage was not just created, no, for solely and exclusively for the benefit of the married couple. Let's not forget that. Let's never forget that. We take care, the state takes care of marriage. As I mentioned before, there is an article in the Constitution, the Philippine Constitution, the only constitution in the world that has an article on the family, and it emphasizes there the importance of marriage, that marriage is an inviolable social institution that the state protects, no? And the church protects, promotes, and protects. So, yeah. While same-sex marriage has been legalized, no, in some states in the United States, although many don't agree with that also, kung babasahon yung and dissenting opinion, ngayon mga comments, no, and the sentiment of the American people, they don't agree. Not all of them agree to the same-sex marriage, again legalized in U.S. Supreme Court, composed of only 9 justices. Sabi nila, how can you speak for us, no? The rest of the American people. So, yeah, so keep that in mind. Let's keep that in mind na hindi porket legal sa Amerika dapat ay maganda. Kasi sabi ko nga, marami rin mga Amerikano na hindi pabor sa same-sex marriage. Let's not generalize nga dara kay sa Amerika legal na same-sex marriage, approved na ito nga tanan nga mga Amerikano, no? Many of them don't approve of that. And let's also disabuse our mind nga what is West is best. It's not true. It's not true. Hindi porket galing Amerika, hindi porket galing sa Western countries, yun na yung best. In many instances, in many ways, best pa rin yung katotohanan. It always is, not only in many instances, but it always is. Ano ba yung katotohanan? That there are only 2 sexes, man and woman. Man and woman. And marriage is between a man and a woman. It is a permanent union between a man and a woman. And then another challenge that families experience is polygamy, no? Because it's still allowed in some countries in the world, polygamy and arranged marriages, no? Polygamy, damot asawa, and then arranged marriages, di rin kilala kung hinot yung maarasawa, kay bata pa ka mo, gin-arrange na ang iyong kasal, o dire nim hinigugma it imo maarasawa, dara kay you never met him, you never met her, and you never fell in love with each other. So, very daman maupay because you're doing violence to the person. Kung pipirito niya magpakasal, usa nga tao, nga niya kilala, and dire niya hinigugma. And, it's a violation. It's a violation of the right of the person to get married. Because we should get married, no, to the person we love. We should get married to the person we love. And kung aada in pagpirit, it's not valid in our laws and also in the laws of the church. It's not a valid marriage because the marriage should be free. The consent to the marriage, dapat natuyang kahit nga kasal. Pero kung gin-arrange na, bata ka pa, nga hindi rin yung karuyag, it's really a big problem that girls, especially girls, no, experience and face. Girls in some countries where marriages are still arranged and also where polygamy is still allowed. So so let's watch out, no, and then see how we can help those girls and women in these situations. Dili naman hit Amoris Laetitia, The Joy of Love in the Family in Chapter 2, the experiences and challenges of families. Na-mention naman ni Pope Francis based on the findings and recommendations of the Synod Fathers on the Synod on the Family, hiununghan women's rights, no? And mga karapatang pambabae, which is important, no? That we have to acknowledge that women have certain rights, because there was a time nga waray kikilalaan mga katungod, mga karapatan han babayi. For example, the right to vote. There was a time nga ang babayi, bisan din niya Pilipinas, dire tinutuyangan pagbotos, dire pwede bumotos. It was only after women, no, mga kaasawaan han president, asawa han presidente ngan iya mga kaupod who fought for the right to vote of the Filipino woman. I'm just not sure of the exact date, no, but yeah, early on, maybe in the 30s or 40s, no, nga ang babayi, Filipina women, dire pwede bumotos, but because of these valiant women, no, who fought for the right of women to vote, nakakabutos na kita kababayan yan na. So usain, no, nga right, nga karapatan hin babayi that was denied to the woman years ago. Dito naman mga, even in modern Western countries, no, first world countries, women were also denied the right to vote, and the women have to fight, no, for their right to vote. So damo na ang advances, no, ina-acknowledge ni Pope Francis nga na aton mga Synod Fathers nga damo na ang mga improvements nga nahitabo kundiin kinikilala ta na ang mga karapatan ng mga kababaihan, and then the right to a job, no. There was also a time nga dire pwede magtrabaho ang babayi, kay an iya role labi na kung inasawan na was only limited to the home. We also discussed this before, ngayon na women are allowed to work even in areas, in fields that were exclusively for men. For example, law. There was also a time in the Philippines nga dire pwede aramhin law at babayi. Only the men were allowed to take up law and become lawyers. Can you imagine that? I mean, I'm a lawyer and a judge. So, wala ko na ka-experience, so nagpapasalamat ako ang mga kababayihan who fought for our right, for the right of women to be educated in the same way that men are educated. That we can go to law school, we can go to medical school, you can become engineers and do the jobs that only men were allowed to do before. So these are advances, no, in the promotion and advancement of the rights of women. Pero may dalagihap mga problema, no, nga diri pa nakikilala it karapatan ng babae, no. And unfortunately, ada lagihap may ada mga discriminations. To this age, for example, in Iran, I don't know if I have mentioned this, dire pa pwede babae maging huwes sa Iran. I learned this during a conference in New York, where I was one of the panelists. No, we talk about women judges, no, in both the rural and urban areas. And I was one of the panelists. I was the panelist representing the Philippines. And then in the audience, may ada nagyakan, a lady raised her hand and then told us, no, it was not a question. During the Q&A, wala hiya pagpakianahin, kundi nagsumat hiya nga dito ha Iran, it kababayan are not allowed, dire tinutuyangan maging huwes, maging judges. So Serenia, you are lucky that in your countries you are allowed to become judges, because in Iran women are not allowed to become judges. So we still have these kind of discriminations, no, in different parts of the world. The man and dire pagkilala hit pagiging partner, equal partner hit babae nga hit lalaki. Na-mention naman din ni Pope Francis in mga abuses, no, unacceptable customs and shameful ill treatment of women and girls, no. And the example that she gave is the genital mutilation of women in some Arab countries, no. It's shameful ill treatment of women, and this is unacceptable. This is an unacceptable practice. Diri na kuntain angay nga bubuhat to mutilate the genitals of women. And then ada liwat in domestic violence that is experienced all over the world, even in first world countries. When we had a conference, women judges conference in Australia, for example, I was surprised to know that usahan pinakadako nira nga problema ang domestic violence. Kasi rin ko nga na-experience la ito in third world countries. But even in first world countries, no, women still experience domestic violence, physical, economic, financial, emotional violence. Kairo, kababayan nga ginaagi sugadhin nga mga violence in their own homes, with their own partners, with their own husbands, who are supposed to take good care of them, who are supposed to love them, and in a home where they are supposed to be safe. Unfortunately, may anahin sugad nga mga experiences, nga mga panhitabo nga ginaagian hin iba nga pamilya, hin iba nga mag-aragsawa. Dinit Amores Letizia, The Joy of Love in the Family, nag-propose si Pope Francis and the Synod Fathers, no? Aan unta mabubuligan it mga pamilya, mga mag-aragsawa nga iginaagihin sugadhin, no? Ang mga inequality in the homes, violence in the homes. Sa ring niya, we have to promote and recognize the equal dignity of man and woman. Kilalata nga babae nga at lalaki are different, huh? But they are equal. Okay, this is important. They are different physically, babae at lalaki, magkaiba physically. I mean, obvious naman, hindi na kailangan i-memorize yan, di ba? Obvious. Iba. If babae at lalaki physically, but also emotionally, even psychologically, and even spiritually, no? Iba yung make-up ng babae and lalaki. And we have to recognize that. Solidary at tama nga sinisaring equality of the sexes. We are never equal. We're never the same. But if by equal, we mean the same. No? If babae, iba. If lalaki, as I said, physically, only women, no, can bear children. Yung reproductive organs ng babae at lalaki magkaiba. And then, the way we think, no, is different from the way men think. The way women think is different from the way men think, no? Women are more into details, no? Mabusisi, into the nitty-gritty, and lalaki, general, iya panhuna-huna. Unsa nga example, no, classic example, difference between a man and a woman. Lalaki mag-shopping. Lalaki, maaram na hit iyang papaliton. And when he goes to the store, diretso iya, ngadto iya, papaliton. And then he buys it and he's happy, he goes home. Babae. Paano mag-shopping ang babae? Paano mag-shopping ang babae? Pipinangulaw, kuha, wala din ang listahan, iya siya shoppingon. Kuha, bayad, nahingalimtan niya ang iya papaliton. Ang iya ay kinadto mall nga iya papalito na hingalimtan niya. Pero daman iya pinamalit, daman niya iniuli nga balay, except what she was supposed to buy. And then what will she do? Anyway, mabalik na lang nga ang pagpalitan na akong papaliton. So that's how women and men shop. Lalaki, diretso nga to, iya paraliton, babayaran niya, mauli na yan, he's happy. And babae, wala niya kapalit, niya angay paliton, damo niya yung pinanmalit, malipayon niya. Bisan kung wala niya kapalitan niya angay paliton, pero damo niya napalit, malipayon niya. So that's one big difference between a man and a woman. And also, yeah, we're into details. Di ba? Hinunomdom hit birthday, anniversary, babae. Correct? It lalaki, nako, dako nga away. Di na hinunomdom an anniversary, and birthday, asawa, nga ira anniversary. So, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't love the wife, no? Pahinomdoma nala kung he's not into it. Pahinomdoma. So, it's important that we understand the differences between a man and a woman. Para diri kita disappointed, di kita kababayan, diri kita naghuna-hunahin magraot na, hindi na ako mahal, wala, may iba na ito, may iba nga, kaya di na yan na hinunundom, ito mo anniversary, ito akong birthday. For all we know, talagang nakalimutan lang niya. Hindi ibig sabihin, hindi ka na niya mahal. Ako, nagdadrama na tayo kung ano-ano na pumabasok sa isip natin. So, if we understand, and if we know and understand that men think differently from women, then we will not subject ourselves to this kind of torture. Huwag na natin i-torture yung mga sarili natin. Kaya kailangan maintindihan natin na ang babae at lalaki ay magkaiba. They are not the same. We are not the same. And we have to celebrate our being different from each other. Because those differences complement each other. Kung ano kulang usa, mapupuno ito usa. Makukomplement. Not mapupuno, but makukomplement ito usa. So, physically also, women are weaker than men. So, kung magsha-shopping, ayan, mahilig mag-shopping ang babae, dami-daming pinamimili. So, kung di na kaya bitbitin, dalhin yung pinamimili natin sa yung asawa natin o yung boyfriend natin, siya pabitbitin natin. So, we complement each other. And it's just an example, just to make you laugh. But it's true. Yeah, sila yung taga-bitbit ng mga pinamili natin. And women and men, they happily do it. I know of a friend who is a judge, a male judge. Kasi he enjoys shopping with his wife. Bisan kung maghihinulat lahiya, kay iti asawa, sigit libot, pamalit. So maghihinulat hiya, kay napalit na niyan iya karoy paliton. Maghihinulat hiya, nga niyat magdadara, pinamalit iti asawa. And he finds happiness in doing that. Because he's doing it for the one. Saring luman ni Pope Francis na ayaw tahingalinti nga kalalakinan have an important role to play in the family. Kinahanglan hin father figure, hit kabataan, someone they can identify with if they are men, or someone who will give a good example. So kalit kababayin it aton father gives us an idea kung ano paghigugma hit lalaki, ngan kung ano paghigugma hit Ginoo. Yes, it helps a lot to have a good relationship with God, a very personal relationship with God. If our father figure, if we have a good father figure, kung maupay ang aton relasyon hit aton tatay, hit aton daddy, hit aton papa, maupay da mait relasyon naton hit Ginoo. So that's the father figure, because God is a father. God is a father. So if our father loved us, took good care of us, loves us, takes very good care of us, and looks after us, then it's easy to fall in love with God, who we don't see, but we see Him in our own father. So important, the importance of the man, of the father in the lives of the children, and of course in the life of the wife, because man and woman, they need each other to help, to support each other, to love each other, and to be there for one another. To respect also, to respect each other. It's very important. in a relationship of man and woman nga aadat ira pagrespeto, paghigugma nga pagrespeto kada usa. Nga nakakaproblema kita kung waray father figure dili pamilya o kung absent itatay, no? And by absence, ring ni Pope Francis, we're not just talking of physical absence. Dili la physical absence it aton ginirestoryahan, kundi it also the emotional absence, psychological absence, spiritual absence. Pwede nga itatay aada physically present habalay pero emotionally distant diri nakikiistorya itiya kabataan, diri nag-spend hin time with the children, harayo hiya itiya kabataan although he is there physically. So that's also a form of absence. So kung naadi na kita habalay, ayaw kita pagdarahin trabaho nga di habalay. I think that should be a cardinal rule for parents. Sabi na kung may mga anak, ayaw kita pagdarahin trabahoon nga di habalay, because the time at home should be spent with the family. And the time in the office should be spent for work. So let's put that order, no, in our lives, in our families. Para dire kita emotionally absent, no? Yeah, iton mga when we go on vacation, ayaw na kita pag tinext, pag sinelponon, no, pag Facebook, ada at pamilya at mga anak upunta, pero we're not with them actually because we are in different parts of the world. Pag pinisbook, dito na naaasikaso it aton kaupod. So that's a form of absence also, which actually unfortunately happens to a lot of families nowadays. It can also be the mother who is absent physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. So what's the lesson there? We have to be in the present, no? We have to be there in the present. We have to make time for our children, and when we say make time, to be really there with them, no? Spend time with them, talk to them, hear them, tell stories. You tell them stories, you also hear their stories. You do activities with them, magbanding kayo, I don't know, mag-picnic, marigos, mag-swimming, I don't know, biking, whatever. Nga you are there for each other, and each one will feel the presence of the other. So that's being physically present. That's being physically present, and you enjoy it, no? Enjoy your family life. So we are called to protect families. We are called to promote families, to protect families, and let's do a good job in doing that, in protecting families and promoting families. So that's the challenge of Pope Francis, no, to all families. We have already identified many challenges and experiences of families that we find in chapter 2 of Amoris Laetitia, the apostolic exhortation of Pope Francis on the joy and love in the family. So in our next episode, we'll talk about the vocation of the family, which is chapter 3 of Amoris Laetitia. So if you have time, make time to read. This is very beautiful. It's available also in the internet. Amoris Laetitia, very beautiful apostolic exhortation of Pope Francis on the joy and love in the family. So thank you once again for watching our program. Lima kagatos katuig nga pagtuo, 500 years of faith, in celebration of the 500 years of Christianity that the Spaniards brought to our islands 500 years ago. So keep safe, everyone. Let's keep on praying. Nga mangumanain nga pandemic, na atubang na doon naman kita in dako na ayat, nga dako it paka-apektar it pamilya it mag-aragsawa. Let's not lose hope. God is always there. He's always with us. So tapod la kita haiya, kaput la kita haiya. And let's continue praying for one another. So God bless and take care always. Stay safe. Bye-bye.